Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first interview here with our voice actors. We are going to be doing a series where we interview each of the voice actors of Season 4 of Disventure Camp. We have an awesome new cast with some equally awesome actors. It has been such a privilege working with these people. They are the heart, the passion, the backbone, the meme pages of our production, and we really do appreciate every single one of them. You get the honor of being our very first guest, Makenzie. Everybody welcome Makenzie. Hello, hello.
Hi, I'm Makenzie McClure. I'm the voice of Alessio Castelli.
First off, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from or maybe what you do for work, just anything you're comfortable sharing.
So I grew up half of my life in West Texas and the other half in upstate New York, which means that I was perfect candidate for being a theater kid since I didn't really fit in anywhere. But I fell into acting and voice acting because I love to watch old cartoons with my dad and my grandfather. He used to love watching like old monster movies and like Godzilla movies with the dubbing, and I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. And I just kind of fell in love with that. I've been acting professionally for 10 years and voice acting for about 5. And it's been a really fun, weird time that like I feel has more freedom and creativity than anything else.
Nice. So you're saying like your first gigs, you were like stomping around the house making monster noises and stuff. That was your introduction to acting.
It was that, and I used to watch a lot of Batman, the animated series,
Oh,
so
good
much
choice.
that at 3 years old, I apparently wore a Batman mask everywhere, even in the grocery store, and I refused to go by Makenzie. I had to go by Bruce or Batman. I wouldn't respond otherwise, which I feel is kind of betraying the secret identity by saying I only respond to Bruce while wearing the cowl.
Listen, you gotta own it, right? You gotta own it. Like you're freaking Batman. Like if I was Batman, I would
Exactly.
want everyone to know. So I get it. Oh, that's awesome. So you've been voice acting more recently, but your background's more in theater, yes?
Theater and film, yeah. I had gone to college for theater arts and going into a little bit of writing. And I had taken some summer courses with the New York Film Academy, their branch over in Los Angeles. And I wasn't super loving my experience as a freshman in college, which happens to a lot of people. And I got reached out to by the department over there, and like, do you want to kind of work with us or do some things with us? And I was like, yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And did stuff over there, fell in love with film acting, but I always really kind of fell back on, man, it'd be really cool to try transitioning into voice acting and character creation and having this ability to create something from nothing without anybody watching you.
Hmm.
And then right before COVID hit, I was like, I'm gonna get my first microphone. And then the world provided an opportunity
The
just
time
for
couldn't
me.
have been better. The timing there was impeccable.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I can definitely echo that. Like one of the coolest parts about voice acting is just you can look as ridiculous as you want in the booth when you're performing, and there's something very freeing about that. As much as I also enjoy theater and film as well, there's just something so liberating about voice, and like also kind of the fun challenge almost of being like I have to convey so much with just my voice. It's you can
Hmm.
only use like one part, where other forms of acting you get to use your body and your facial expressions. But and I mean, don't get me wrong, you use those in voice acting too. It's just the audience doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
I
you
will say this is the only time that I actually have my light on. Normally, I don't have, partially because I'm lazy and I don't want to recharge it. But being like in the dark, I'm like, okay, now I'm like, okay, I just have the microphone and the harsh light of my computer. It's like being 13 all over again.
Yeah. It's just like being like all like sneaky, like just like doing like all your like little voices and characters and yeah.
Exactly. And playing Pokemon ROMs because I didn't have the games on my Game Boy.
Okay, I mean I do that as an adult, but Nothing wrong with
Nintendo hasn't
that.
given full accessibility. It's okay.
It is okay, especially those older ones. Like you can't find like legit versions are like $200 at least.
Yeah,
Um, okay, well I have to ask, do you have a favorite Pokemon then?
I do. It's gonna be too hard to like lift my leg and bring it up, but I have a tattoo even of
Oh,
Ivysaur. It was my favorite as a kid. There was a very brief period of my life where I was a tattoo artist. So
oh,
all those people
cool.
out there that
Oh,
like that Alessio has a tattoo, I feel very seen. I
yes.
kind of get in
Show
here.
off
I
the
have
sleeve. Yeah.
sort of where's the camera? There it is.
There. Oh, Batman. There's Batman right
Uh,
there. Nice. Yeah.
exactly. But I had actually shared this with the cast the other day because we were talking about Pokemon and got talking about this. But I did the tattoo on myself. I was working a Friday the 13th 24-hour like tattoo convention, and
Yes.
I put a mirror down because no one was like over at our booth, and I was like, well, we need people to come and show up. And it was like Pokemon week or something for the anniversary, and I was like, I'm just gonna put an Ivysaur on my foot.
Why not?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, mine is I have one tattoo and it's also video game themed. It's my friend did, I didn't do it. I'm not talented. Visual art's not my thing. But it's Mario. It's the turnips from Super Mario Brothers 2, which is the first video game I ever played, so that's why I got it.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like the ones with the faces on them. I
Yeah.
don't want to like show because it's like also near my foot, and like usually like people have to pay for that if they want to see that. I'm not just gonna show it to the camera. But yeah, so I can relate. So that's awesome. I didn't know you were a tattoo artist though for a bit. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I love the art side of it. I love to draw, and I've always loved to draw and like create little things. And I just wanted to translate that into the creation for other people because I drew a lot and did sketches and would do commissions. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool, like for a living, to do that for people's bodies?
Hmm.
And then COVID also hit. I was like, you know what? Actually, no.
Yeah, so it's like voice acting was the clear avenue you
Hmm.
could do remotely. Tattoo artistry, definitely heart goes out to people who did that because yeah, talk about not being able to like do that at all. Talk about an
Hmm.
industry that probably got hit pretty hard. Um, but it sounds like you couldn't have been more perfect for this role in Disventure Camp. With that background as Alessio the painter, which
Yes.
before we jump into that, I don't want to get too ahead of it. But I guess we're kind of on this tangent already. One question was what you like to do other than voice act, if you have any hobbies. So you like to draw, you like to sketch. Do you have any other hobbies?
Yes, I it's gonna sound weird, but I have I have a reasoning to it. It sounds very himbo out the gate, but I do
Nothing
love to.
you're talking to the guy who
Fair enough.
understands symbols. Like, come
Fair enough.
on.
Uh, I do love to work out, but I
Mhm.
always I like to train often doing weird challenges. Like I one day was like, I wonder what powerlifting is like. I was never like someone who did that, and then I have medaled in two competitions where I lifted like over 400 pounds.
What?
Um,
You
yeah,
That's crazy. Okay, you're like super modest because you have like all these interesting parts about your past that I've only just learned about. That is awesome, though.
I
So,
saved them just for this.
okay, well, I see you. I see. That's smart. That's smart. So was it like Olympic lifting or like deadlifting or I don't know like a ton about lifting, so I don't know if they're like what the difference is, but what kind of like lifting was it?
So it was a traditional like bodybuilder competition. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
bench press, deadlift, and squat. And I honestly, until like the eighth grade, I was always the super, super lanky, scrawny kid.
Hmm.
And then puberty hit, and I just got my proper darker Italian, like olive skin.
Yes.
Um, and then I just got, yeah, like just taller and like a little bit of muscle to me.
Hmm.
And my dad, he has been a personal trainer, former bodybuilder for like my entire life. And
Oh,
so
okay.
one
Very
day I
cool.
was like, I would like to do that. And I actually got into training because when seeing things in the film industry, I would see people that were fellow actors and they would be trying to train for a role, but they were doing it really like unhealthy and they weren't doing
Right.
something properly for their
Hmm.
body, or maybe they had like a form of body dysmorphia, and I was like, I want to train people or train myself so I can show people that they can make a difference in themselves or be stronger or hit a goal without destroying themselves physically or mentally. And then even doing the powerlifting thing, I was like, I to myself want to see, hey, how strong can I get? Or just to see, just so I can do it. I want to see if like I personally have like the interior strength to do it. And then if someone feels like they want to try it, I can be like, awesome, now I'm in a perfect place to like say, cool, how can I help you? And not just be like, I'll cheer you from the sidelines, but like, no, like, how can I help you get there? Like, I want to do that.
Mm. That's really cool because yeah, I knew personal training is something in addition to acting you do career wise.
Hmm.
That's super cool, and I love that you touched on that aspect of acting and people trying to fulfill roles, and sometimes they do it in unhealthy ways. Because a lot of the times when I have conversations like this, we talk about making sure you're not bringing in too much like mental strife or trauma into
Hmm.
your work. Like you don't have to relive past trauma just to perform well, but that also goes for physical things too. Like you don't have to hurt your body to fit into a role physically. There are healthy ways to
Hmm.
approach it and do that. So yeah, I really like that you bring up that point because unfortunately we do see that sometimes where like so especially some of like the A-list celebrities, like they really just go through like really crazy fast transformations, and it's like always like makes you a little nervous because it's like, oh, I hope they're okay, like genuinely.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll often tell people, especially like when you see people like The Rock or Chris Evans or any of the superheroes of like, yes, it's very impressive how they look, but also understand that when you're at a certain level, it's not just natural. There is a
Mm-hmm.
level of like, you know, uh hormones that they take, like supplements and things like that that cause an excess of gain. And yes, it looks very impressive and it looks great on screen, but you need to get to X position
Mm-hmm.
naturally and healthily. Otherwise, it's going to have a very negative, detrimental effect on your body.
Right. Definitely, like with anything, you gotta prioritize self care. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, like health should always come before stuff with like careers, and so yeah, I think that's awesome what you're doing, and I think that's just such a cool, not only unique but just also really important, I guess, marriage, for lack of a better term, of like the two interests is to be both an actor and a personal trainer and be able to have the perspective of both. I think that's probably not something a lot of people really think about, but I think that's really valuable.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think that's awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing. Next question. My phone keeps locking on me. Okay, and now we're gonna start to get into the Disventure Camp stuff.
Yes.
Mr. Alessio, and I dress for the occasion. With the I don't have like proper circular shades, but I have these like fun Party City ones. Um, but first, I just wanted to ask, how did you find out about Disventure Camp, or how did you find out about the audition?
Yeah, so it's very cool to have like kind of grown into it because I was just scrolling through Casting Call Club.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend was like, "Hey, have you seen this?" and showed the kind of like open casting call for it. And I hadn't even really heard of it. I spent a period of my life extremely chronically online. And then I somehow got away from it. And then I
Now
went
you're
back to
back.
being
Haha.
impeccably, impossibly slight tangent. I
Please.
at work today said, uh, oh, what was it? Oh, I said like hawk to a lift on that thing, and I got stared at, and I was like, I want to just melt into the floor. If I
I
could
can't
just
defend
not,
you, buddy. I'm sorry. That's a little wild. I don't know
I,
if I can defend you on that
you know what? I can't defend me.
one.
I stood there and I was like, I have to just, yeah. Um, it's as bad as any scene of Carrie Bradshaw trying to get big back. Um, but no, I got to kind of very organically discover Disventure Camp, and I think I can talk about it, but like I had auditioned for who ends up being revealed to be Diego and I
Hmm.
believe Ted.
Yes. I think I could be wrong. I think you auditioned for Logan too.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
gonna say. I think you had like four auditions or so. But yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and so I it was really cool because there was the music component to it too, and I definitely enjoyed um, putting out some of the songs, but some part of my like soul or brain just felt very in line with Alessio.
Mm.
And I remember singing it, and then I was like, okay, this is one of those auditions that like I'm crossing my fingers for. I'm gonna let it go. And then I was stunned very happily whenever I got the message that I got a call back.
Yeah, no, I mean, you killed it. It was for us, like, when I first heard your auditions, we compiled a list of like callbacks, but I heard yours for Alessio, and I knew immediately I wanted to call you back. And at that point, I didn't make any decisions at that point, but I felt like very
Mm.
strongly about it because I was like, this, you captured immediately that kind of thespian, like just a little bit extra, but still like a human being level that he has. He's so just, I think, just indulgent about life and just everything. And then of course you sang in Italian for the like singing part, and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
so that's another plus. Like he can speak Italian. That's amazing. I think it's just called Bella Ciao. Is that the song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The worst part was that I was in here in my booth, which I before we started like this call, I said how I don't have like I don't have a lot of room.
Yeah.
And so I'm like trying to warm up, and normally this whole area is like very sound treated and you can't super hear. And my fiance likes to work, I would say a good 50 or 60 feet from where the booth is. But the day that I was auditioning, I just kept doing it over and over. And I looked down at my phone and she was like, are you listening to like a TikTok? Like, what's happening? Because I was trying to like get kind of like the cadence and the right timing and the
Yeah.
speed.
And she was just hearing you repeat the same audio over and over like a crazy
Yes.
person. Yeah.
I mean, who's to say that I'm not crazy? You
Hey,
know?
we're all, I mean, I feel like every voice actor is a little bit, right? Or at least all a
Yes.
little bit brain rot. I think that's comes with the territory.
Yes.
The next question, which was, what was your reaction to being cast as him? Which you said was
Oh.
pleasantly stunned. Were you? I guess maybe were you surprised you got him over a different character at all? Like, is he the type of character you would usually book, or what were your thoughts on that? Maybe.
No, I was extremely surprised because, and I was happy even just getting a call back. Like honestly, because I had seen, and obviously on Casting Call Club or anywhere else, you
Mhm.
can
You can see everyone's.
hear and see, which you shouldn't do if you ever want to like stay mentally sound. Because the
Yes.
second you hear
Don't
like 20
compare.
people do, yeah, it's just like, oh, all right, I'll just return my mic. It's cool. Um, but I was happy for even that. And then when I got the email from you saying that we want you as Alessio, I remember that you also included the character design with it in the
Yep.
email.
Hmm.
And I don't think I've told you this because we've talked about stuff like this since. I sat in my kitchen and I cried. I didn't. No one was here. I was just by myself, and I was like waiting for my fiance, for Emily, to come back. She was, I think, running errands or something. And I
Hmm.
was like sitting, and she came back, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I just like slid my phone across the counter, and it was like this, like very like.
Picture of Alessio, just like, look at this guy, and she's like, "What the fuck is this? Like, what is
um
this?"
yeah, but it was this very rewarding, like I was immediately like, I don't know what's going to happen with this, I don't know
Mm.
what my arc is, but I've never been more excited to be a part of something.
Oh wow, that's very touching. No, seriously, that's really touching. I'm really glad that like it meant that much to you, and I think that's something
Hmm.
I will say just kind of like about the whole cast is that the level of passion everybody has is just like we couldn't have asked for a better group of people because like y'all really show up and like put in the work, and I'm just like very grateful for you all and your talents. I know it's like a lot of times like you get a part and it's like, oh, like I feel so lucky or so grateful to get this, but honestly it's like I feel like we're the ones, like the people who are making the project should be the ones who are grateful because it's you lending your talents. And like y'all smashed it, y'all proved yourselves. So when you got a picture of him, because that's for context for people that don't know, the auditions actually didn't include pictures because Jared is very airtight about leaks, and he didn't even want any image, not even like concept art, on the auditions, which I was like, oh, that's tough, because as an actor myself, it's so much easier when you have a visual to base it off of, especially with voice acting. But I was like, okay, well, we're gonna make it work. I'll give him whatever I can. When you got a picture of him, did he look like you expected him to look, or was it completely different?
No, weirdly enough, I'm gonna let the fanfic writers figure this out. I pictured him so much like Diego without the adventurer look.
Sure.
Like the
Yeah.
very like slicked back
Just
hair.
very suave, very
Yeah,
yeah.
like very oh, I'm gonna make a very dated reference. Like Junior from Kim Possible. Like that's
Okay.
mentally.
That's not that dated. That's not that, or I'm old, but one of the two.
I get shocked every day. I'm 28 and there's times where I feel like Old Man River.
Yes.
So I never know.
As a 29-year-old, I feel you very
Yeah.
much.
But no, I was pleasantly surprised. The second that I saw him, I was like, oh my God, artsy, like 70s, almost like the Beatles, but like way more pretentious in the most beautiful way.
Yes. Exactly. Just yeah, that sort of just like he kind of combines that like modern, because I feel like his attire is like very modern and almost like Gen Z a little bit, like with the pants and shoe combo, but then his like hair is very 70s. I do remember when he was first revealed, everyone was like, "Oh my God, John Lennon's in the Disventure Camp," and I'm like, wait, no, you're right. I kind of see it, but I do love Alessio's design, and I think it's just like such a like visually interesting character, which is so important because that's kind of his whole thing, is like being an artist. So for him to be this kind of very aesthetic, it's a very like clear vision. He's got the sleeve, he's very like put together. But a little bit funky, a little bit weird, a little bit eccentric, and I think it all just combines really well.
The way that you were saying it sounded like a little bit Alexis, and I was like, a little bit Alessio.
A little bit Alessio. Yes. So the song Mambo Number 5, but with Alessio. Maybe you can sing that for a greeting.
Listen, if anyone, I'm going to look directly into people's souls.
Yes,
if anyone is wanting a greeting from me, please give me whatever music you want. Everyone in the cast has already had to witness me as Alessio sing Defying Gravity and Lady Gaga. So.
Yes. And we still need to make Tony sing as Galinda for that, as Logan, because Logan and Alessio are very Alpha and Galinda coded.
Galinda is happening, people. And Alessio will kill another snail just for the green.
Green snail, okay.
For Elphaba.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I feel like that all the characters are at least a little bit morally gray because we are as humans, and I honestly, like, some people might villainize Alessio for killing the snails, but like I don't know, I feel like he put them to good use. Like he found their inner beauty, maybe a little too well, but like he brought out their true colors, if you will.
What people don't know is that snail was actually towards the end of its life cycle, and I was doing the humane thing. I was helping that snail serve a greater purpose.
Oh no, it's like an old Yeller situation, like the snail was about to die anyways. It was suffering. We had to put it up.
Why not immortalize the snail as paint on a stick that's on tree bark?
Honestly, that's how I want to go, personally. Disclaimer: we at Disventure Camp do not condone animal cruelty. Again, it was
Exactly.
an act of humanity. That's really what it was at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day. Awesome. Well, on that note, next question. Great segue. What are your overall opinions of Alessio? Do you feel like you're similar to Alessio? Are you total opposites, or are you kind of somewhere in between? How do you relate to your character?
I said earlier, but like I am from a very large Italian family. Half of my family is like upstate New Yorker Italian. The other half is upstate Italian, New York Irish. So it's
Oh
just like
wow.
this very. I can cook really well, and if
Yes.
I'm put to the test, I can handle my own with wine. Uh,
Bit of a sommelier. Okay, I like it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I really have found there are some beautiful things with Alessio. I really enjoy kind of finding like little nooks and crannies about him. Like besides just being like an artist, I am from a family of healthcare professionals, HR people. Like
Mhm.
most of my dad's side of the family, in some form or another, are doctors or surgeons. And most people on my mom's side are like HR, very business people. So being the actor
Mm.
in the family, um, I definitely feel for Alessio, feeling like he's never like had his voice per se with these, you know, fitting in and kind of losing himself even in his art. And I got that, and I think that there are similarities there. I will say that I don't go smashing inanimate objects for their paint. Uh,
Not yet,
but
anymore. Not at this
not
point in your
yet. You
life.
know, I'm not in my blue era. But yeah, I definitely feel that, and it's cool. Not to get all sad and sappy, but I lost my grandfather a few years ago, and he helped teach me how to cook.
Mm.
And he always helped me with like building projects or arts. He helped me paint things when I was younger, and I learned a lot from him. And so, in a weird way, working with Alessio, creating his character, and especially the deep-rooted Italian bits of him, feels very familial. So I definitely feel like there's a lot of that
Yeah.
with him that I carry with, and I don't think will ever not be carried with me.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really sweet, and I appreciate you opening up about that. I think it really speaks to just how important art and storytelling is, and the power it has, right? And I definitely
Hmm.
think your grandfather's with you when you're doing this performance and doing this project, because the level of humanity you bring out of Alessio, who could so easily, I feel like, fall into the camp of gimmicky one note character, is just
Hmm.
astounding. And I think you did him a lot of justice, even though, his time was short. And he's obviously not done. We're going to see these characters more. But at least for now, just this kind of nice arc he has, and this short amount of time where we really get to see him kind of explore this and struggle with being, like you said, kind of on the outs, the outcast, misunderstood, secluding himself, but finding a connection and someone like
Hmm.
Logan, and recognizing his worth, and being able to leave the game with his head held high, I think was just so powerful and really impactful, for a character that, goes home first. It just, I think, really speaks to the level of care that you've put into your character. And everyone's putting into their characters too, but that you were just able to find that avenue right away. So I really appreciate that. And I'm really glad you could connect to him on that familial level too, because I think that part's very, very important. And as someone who's also
Hmm.
from an Italian background, family is super huge, right? So anytime we can draw from that, I know it's very empowering for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah.
I and my family are holding space for Alessio.
Okay. You're like, okay, we can't get too sappy. We can't. Holding space for, I guess we didn't ever really name his painting that he ends up completing of him as the fortune teller.
That's true.
Alessio in repose. We're holding space for Alessio in repose.
Yes, and then Logan will go over and say Alessio in Rebros.
But with utter confidence, like that is the word. Like, oh, it's
Yes,
repros. Yeah, like pros.
exactly.
And Alessio's like, sure. He just lets him have it.
Hmm.
Awesome. Let's see. Next question here. Oh, speaking of, you kind of touch on this a little bit, but how did you end up finding his voice? And did you have any inspirations or maybe like other characters you kind of channeled when you were finding his voice?
Yeah, I was kind of going through first I was trying to like, okay, I don't want to do a stereotypical Mario accent.
Thank
And
you. there,
yeah,
there, there were a few of those, and I was like, okay, that's not what we're going
yeah.
for, but you know,
But then I didn't want to like teeter into the like Brad Pitt and Inglourious Bastards territory either. I didn't. I was like,
just like a
what's
lack of.
yeah, because he's like Grazie,
Yeah,
Arrivederci. Yeah, I was like, okay, how?
Southern
I
Italian.
understand I'm from Texas, but like, come on. Uh, I watched some clips and like went back and watched some like old film. I wanted it to feel very old world.
Hmm.
And then I tried to think of like how on the very brief times that my grandfather did speak Italian, how that sounded. Usually it was very in frustration whenever he was building something. Uh, and then honestly, it was just thinking of just like, okay, what is the difference of like Sicilian and like Venetian, like what the different areas of Italy, and how can I make this feel like it still is very modern while steeping something in roots. And I tried to kind of marry a couple of things together
Hmm.
to build him. And I think really what sold it is on the day we did the callbacks, I think was where I felt it fully embodied. And I was like, yes, this feels very him. Even if I didn't get cast as him, I was like, I feel like this character's I've done him justice.
Oh yeah, you absolutely came in swinging. Like the voice was super realized in callbacks, and that was a big reason why you stank the part because it was just like, yep, you did your homework. So, what was your favorite moment to record? And I'll also follow up with the question after that too. Put them together. What was the most challenging moment to record?
Um, I think they actually are both the exact same.
Ooh,
I hope
interesting.
that's not a
Okay.
cop out,
No, it's not. That
but
makes it more interesting.
so for everyone that's watched the second episode, that goodbye,
Hmm.
I remember getting the script and I was like, I'm first. Oh, okay.
I
Uh,
know. Everyone was so scared too. Everyone's like, "Oh, who's first?" And
yeah,
we all felt for you, and you had to like rough that alone until the next person who goes win, and then you were had some company, but yeah.
yes. But no, I remember doing a kind of little group session with you and Tony,
Hmm.
Logan, and it was very challenging to kind of have this goodbye moment, that moment at the campfire before going to the boat. And when we were recording it, I remember feeling like, oh my God, like I want to convey this series of emotions, but not come across as hollow. I don't want it to seem like I'm very all of a sudden very feely, and I wanted it to feel
Hmm.
genuine. And so I was trying to find that, and it kind of morphed into the most rewarding and my favorite moment because when we were recording it, there was just a part of Logan's sincerity and the way that he was talking to me. And I remember we kind of went off script, and I was
You did.
like, "Yeah, that I'm happy to call you my friend," and it just came, and I was like, "It's true." Like he was the one person to like show me. We did all of the scenes of him and I that day, and so by the end of it, there was this very deep belief of like I I I feel sad only because you showed me that there were things that I could do and I could achieve that I couldn't find myself. Um, and so having that moment felt like very fun and beautiful. Uh, and even if it was my, my vote out, it's stuck with me because just that time recording that was very special.
Oh, well said. Yeah, I mean, life imitates art, right? I think, like you said, there's something to say about how, at that point we were all pretty new to working with each other. We were getting to know each other, and just kind of like Logan and Alessio become friends in a short amount of time. You and Tony became really good friends in a short amount of times, and the chemistry in that room was just incredible. Like the way you two worked together, it just and immediately bounced off each other was so great. I knew we had just had something great on our hands. So by the time we were doing the last part and we were going off script, I remember I think there was one part where Tony was like, "Oh, sorry, are we going to off script?" I'm like, "No, just throw the script away. Just lock in what we're doing. This is
Yeah.
magical." Screw the script. Nothing against the writers. They do a great job. But I was like, sometimes you just have to follow that instinct, and there's something great there. And maybe with your permission, I'd love to share it, but I know you also had some really great improv in your takes, and
Hmm.
you actually had a longer speech that we unfortunately had to cut for time. But there was some really like beautiful ideas in there, including still it sticks out in my mind to this day. One of my favorite lines I've heard just in this entire process is the canvas of this journey is still being painted. And I was like, I'm getting that as a tattoo. That is so good. But yeah, I
I
should share that.
I no, and there was like when I was watching the episode, I forgot, and then when that scene happened, I was like, I'm almost happy in a weird way that it did get cut because I think I would have started crying. Because I remember that all came because of Tony's performance too, because it was
Right.
so real and it really did feel like I was saying goodbye to my friend. I mean, I think whether, I personally never had a summer where like I went to camp, but I did have those school friendships. And when you're saying goodbye for summer, especially, if you're not going to go to that school again, or if they're
Yeah.
going to somewhere else, there's that feeling of like, oh, like we've built this connection and I didn't think it was going to end. And now it's so abrupt, but at the same time, it was beautiful. And I
Yeah.
think he really helped bring that and it came out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, shout outs to Tony. I mean, he is so sincere, such a talented actor. The way he can just like really tap into the humanity of just any lines we give him and just brings it
Hmm.
out. It was something truly cool, and that was like one of the first directed sessions, like proper directed sessions that I did with the cast was between you two. And at that point, I was like, I knew that I'm like, okay, we're in for a great ride. This is an amazing group of people. So that session definitely like quelled any sort of reservations or like nerves I had about it working as a director with you all, because I was like, yeah, this is y'all make my life easy. Y'all make my job so easy. So thanks for that.
Hey, well, thank you for being a great director. I mean, seriously, it definitely felt very like there was a lot of freedom. I've had, I'm sure, like many people that have been in the theater world have had not great directors. I've had my fair share of them, and this was
Me
the
too.
complete antithesis of that. You created a very wonderful space. You made things feel very great to be in. There's lots of room creativity, and it felt completely focused.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really
Yeah,
do. And this interview is not about me, but I appreciate you saying that. And I will be putting that segment at the beginning of this video as a
perfect. Yeah,
teaser,
exactly.
so everyone can know how great I am going into this. Okay, great.
We'll
Next
put
question.
confetti over it too.
I just no, I do sincerely appreciate that though. It's been such a great process all around. Yeah, and we found some really great moments. Speaking of which, I think that segues into our next question. Um, I'm like trying to like it's always there's always a little bit of a stop and start with this sort of stuff, but yeah, I guess like it kind of what you talked about with the directed session is definitely one. But were there any other like fun production stories the audience get to see, like memories you have from table reads or sessions? It doesn't have to be like entirely project related, just like fun moments from like working on the show.
Yes, I will tell you right now, and not even like necessarily tell you. Me personally, I feel Like, I think I have it
Oh no, you're
right.
pulling something up. I'm scared.
I sure am. I will say, anybody that gets a chance to work with Kai, do, because
Yes,
they create such gleeful chaos in the most beautiful of ways.
absolutely. 100% second that.
No, I would say that my favorite moment would probably, I don't know, have to be. It's gonna buffer now, so my comedic timing is absolutely demolished.
Don't worry, we
Like,
have the magic of
something
editing.
has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm sorry, is that Alessio Castelli singing Defying Gravity? Flying, defying gravity. Which was entirely born out of a massive thread of everyone reacting to seeing Wicked and
Yes.
talking about Wicked. Um, Wicked brain rot is real.
It's super real. The timing couldn't have been better because Wicked came out like as Disventure Camp was starting to come out. Like this season of Disventure
Yes.
Camp was coming out.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of my favorites just because everyone's pure chaos. And then I don't remember how it happened, but I was like, I will sing this as Alessio. And then I just saw the thread of different things and I was like, okay, I guess this is actually happening.
We were all
I
living
think
for it. Everyone was like, "This is the best thing ever."
yes. I think that or Kai had brought up the idea before of because even though Alessio is very artsy and in touch with the world, he's very out of touch with being chronically online. So if a bunch of different people could teach Alessio Gen Z slang, and I remember the specific thing after Kai had brought up that idea, I was like, Alessio just learned bussin'. I don't. He just discovered what that meant. Yes, this page right here, it's very busting. Yes.
It's
So,
always so fun to just like kind of get into the like internet culture of it all, but in character. And I can definitely confirm that on the Discord there are an endless amount of memey voice clips that the public probably will never see that are just for
no.
us because it's just like us fooling around. Sometimes we share it, but yeah, there's a lot of like fun stuff, especially with Alessio because he's such a character that he would be the last character to know what this verbiage means, whereas like Tristan's probably like the first character. So you're already answering a lot of these, which is totally fine.
I'm
But
so efficient.
you're just so on top of it.
Toss.
Alessio would say that, wouldn't he? He has the hair to do it too.
Yeah.
toss. What was your reaction to your character being the first boot? This is an Alessio specific question.
I remember being so excited. I was always excited whenever there was some new script or some new thing that was coming in. And so when I got the second script, I was like scrolling through and I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I remember getting towards the end and I hadn't even fully read the page. I just saw 4 votes for Alessio. And like I felt my stomach and I was like, oh, and it's got to happen to somebody. And as much as I do love Alessio, I was immediately like, once I got out of the moment of like, I did feel kind of like, you know what? I'm glad that there are other characters that do get to shine and they do get to kind of have their moments, like Tristan and like Ivy and even Logan, and especially Logan. Zayd. I mean, I remember kind of being like, you know what? There's going to be like fun little things for them. So it was kind of like a mix of bittersweetness, I'll say.
That's so selfless. That's like so sweet of you. It's like, but that's so sweet. Like, definitely, I feel like there is a sense among the cast of we're each other's cheerleaders and supporters too. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories to tell, and unfortunately, it's like the genre, the name of the game. Someone has to go,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely when Alessio was the first one to go, when the writers we read it for the first time, I was like, I sat there for a moment too because I was sad because Alessio was like a character that I focused on a lot and was like, very excited about, and I was like, every elimination's gonna hurt, isn't it? Like literally everyone, like it's not gonna ever be easy, and it's been true. Like literally every elimination has hurt. So get ready,
Mm-hmm.
y'all. Strap in for a emotional season. But yeah, no, it's definitely that bittersweet energy, and I think sometimes like it's easy like maybe if you're just watching the show and you're like, oh, that's just they just voice the character, whatever. But I think we put in so much of ourselves that there is that part of us that like feels like it's us getting voted out, like it is personal just a little bit. So it's hard to shake at first, it's you
Mm-hmm.
really get wrapped up in the story of it and just like how cutthroat the whole game is, the whole I guess formula of it is.
Yeah. And if Ted could have just like been super cool, that would have been like the coolest thing.
If Ted could have, yeah, he kind of rewatching the episode 2. I was like, yeah, Ted kind of like fumbled the bag there. Like it was
Yeah.
like he could have very easily have saved Alessio, but like it just
You know,
doesn't happen.
it's okay because he lost all his money in Huck to a coin and it's fine.
Just the like side eye sip, just
Mm-hmm.
the shady
Of
side eye.
I have to say, I am garbage. I don't know if anyone is prepared for this. Alessio, canonically, I'm putting out there, his favorite soda is Coke
Oh,
Oreo.
no, that's so perfect because you think it would be like, oh, he likes black coffee or some like tea or something like refined, but no, it's like Oreo
I
Coca
am
Cola.
I promise everybody, I am not sponsored, but I had one. I ran to Target and I bought a 12 pack. Okay.
I've heard
I
that good. I
don't do
haven't had it
soda.
yet
It's like you want to hate it, but it's good.
because
It's
everything it stands for. It's like it shouldn't be
it's
good. It's Oreo
unfortunately
Coca
good.
Cola. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's unfortunately good.
And you're not a soda drinker because I'm not either. So are you saying that I would probably like this?
Yes.
Oh man. All right. Well.
It's unfortunate. It's like having a sneaky Diet Coke after a very, very long time. And it's like, oh, those like first two sips are like really refreshing. This is like, I don't know, my like 14th bottle since it came out. I don't get it all the time, but I bought a bunch of it and I was like, every now and again, I'll get myself a little treat. And
Little
I
treat.
found that it's apparently really good to, before being in the booth and recording, to have bubbles. Apparently, it helps with like a lot of the um, S's and pops and stuff
Yep.
and the mouth noises. So,
Yeah. It is because it helps kind of like dry up the saliva that like
mhm.
sits towards the back. So, and hey, you know what? Here for a good time, not a long time, right?
Exactly. So
Enjoy
if
your
if
Oreo
as
Coke.
well as those greetings, if anyone wants Alessio ASMR,
Honestly, I will be very shocked if you don't get ASMR greetings because he is like the perfect character for that. Like,
kind of
Alessio
is.
would be the ASMRist of the cast for sure. Awesome. So yeah, again, you kind of touch on this a little bit, but just question about how do you relate to your character's arc? And I guess more so like what discoveries did you make along the way? Like maybe compared to when you went into the project or first entered, what were you surprised by? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit with the
Mhm.
emotion of the goodbye scene and stuff, but I guess just like what other arcs about his character was kind of different from the start.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like any big project coming on, especially if you kind of feel like the new kid kind of deal. Everything feels very overwhelming. And I remember that first table read, you could see all the little balloons of everyone's names and faces.
Hmm.
And we were kind of going through that first script, and I was very excited, but I did feel very not on the outs, but I was like, oh man, like I definitely feel like I don't really know where I fit in yet. And it's kind of
Mm,
like that first day of school feeling, but
yeah.
even more so because, you're putting not just yourself, but your uh, creative ability in there. And I think by that second episode and just through time and developing it, even though it was just 2 episodes, I definitely felt like there was this such warm hug of just everyone's acceptance and kind of gelling in. And I mean, really, by that goodbye, I think the reason as well that the emotion was so much there was because I did feel like he was feeling. I was like, I get it. Because just like with any art, and like he says in the episode, that he had kind of felt like he hit a slump. He felt like he wasn't finding necessarily joy. And I know I said about, tattoo and stuff, but like I've had that with multiple different things. I had that
Mm,
the whole reason I switched to, wanting to try and then falling in love with film over stage is because it just felt like high school all over again for a lot of the different stuff. And I felt like I wasn't enjoying what I was supposed to be doing for fun. I mean, they always tell you in acting classes or in, shows in general, like you're doing it for fun, you're playing pretend. And I just didn't have that. And
mm,
so by the end of that second episode, I was like, I'm having so much fun. Like I'm looking forward to stepping in to be him. So I definitely felt those feelings. It was cool to kind of feel that ebb and flow and that growth into that feeling.
yeah, again, very well said. Because I think it is cool the way that this can kind of reflect, just the approach of an artist, especially for Alessio, like being a artistic character, but just like that feeling of like new group of people. You're figuring out these connections. You don't know maybe like where you sit, where you're at with people, and much like how these characters are feeling at the start of this adventure they're on, that was the case for the whole cast. And
Yeah.
I can definitely echo like what you mean by the like warm hug, because the speed at which the cast bonded was just nothing short of just incredibly humbling and wholesome. Like it was just so cool to see that. And that's at the end of the day, I mean, that's like for me, like the biggest, most important part of it, just working on anything. The project itself, of course, is very important, but more so like the people you meet, for sure.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And, everyone is so loving and accepting and, again, not to get like sad and real, but like growing up, for a large amount of my life in West Texas, being someone that is part of the LGBTQ and being someone that is he, they, and there are days where I feel very, um, you know, masculine. I feel very like boy, and there's days where I don't.
Yeah.
Feeling like that growing up the way that I did, where it was a very hard environment to discover oneself or see who they are inside, and to kind of be in this character who you know isn't necessarily those things, but goes through this path of self-discovery and then acceptance and this feeling of like, okay, well, even though this is a quote unquote negative outcome, I'm leaving this, I'm moving on from this having gained something much more valuable, much more different. And so I think I can very much relate to that. And I think even the cast themselves has been extremely uh, accepting immediately of everybody, whether, gender or pronoun or walk of life, it doesn't matter. Everyone is so immediately like, yes, like we will protect and nourish, and so it's cool to kind of have that environment, but also, yeah, that feeling with the arc too.
Yeah. No, I love that you touch on to like the protectiveness and the nourishing aspect of it, because that is like really important. That's a big part, I think, of being artists. I know we're all very like protective of each other too. Like we will
Hmm.
fight for each other, and I've seen it. Like it's really cool the way like everyone again is a cheerleader for each other. They'll stick up for each other. Um, yeah, and it's important during this time, without reflecting too much on the elephant in the room, but it's a
Hmm.
very scary time right now, and it's been that way for a few years. And I think just seeing stories like this, the impact that it has on people it's just something that always takes me back. Like whenever I get like messages about how much people love the show or like relate to my character, I know you all are going to have the exact same thing, if not like more so, because it just the sincerity in the story you all are telling is just so magnificent. So yeah, no, I love that. Again, well said. You're just as eloquent as Alessio is. I swear. Like I'm like,
Thank you.
dang, that's not missed a beat. I have not edited anything. Cool. Let's see. So, getting a little bit lighter now. So a question for you. Besides Alessio, who is your favorite season 4 character?
Oh gosh, I have to say I think it's a tie between Logan and Tristan.
Yeah, they're both pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you had to choose, you can only save one. They're both drowning. I mean, Logan probably wouldn't be drowning because he's really good at swimming.
Yeah,
Maybe you'd save Tristan because Logan will be fine.
I mean, as Alessio read in the Patreon list, have you seen Logan's abs? I mean, come on.
It was
Goodness.
it was such a good ad lib, and I'm glad we can push the like Alessio like fruity canon there, because I mean, come on,
Oh, absolutely.
and like also he's European. It's like Legally Blonde has a whole song about that, right?
Exactly. Plus, have you seen how he stands?
Yeah,
I'm holding the easel.
So he really does. He's just a little
exactly. And we're holding space for that.
We're holding space.
Mm-hmm.
Very much. So on that note, who are you rooting for to win? If it's maybe it's Logan or Tristan, maybe it's a different character you actually like want to win.
No, I definitely think it's between them. I mean, I would also love to see Zayd win, because I forgot between the period of when we did our table read for the second episode and watching the second episode, I forgot about his journey with like his family and what he would do with the money, and I was like, oh, son of a bitch, that's so good.
He probably has the most noble cause for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say I can't three-way tie this. It could go to really any of the three.
Yeah,
I'll say Logan just to give a definitive answer, but it could change by the minute.
Yeah, no, that's not. I totally accept that, and it's sometimes hard to like make those decisions. On that note, though, maybe this one will change. Who do you think will win? Like, who do you actually think will win? It could be the same. It could be someone else.
I think Emily's gonna find a way to.
Emily's just gonna. Here I am.
Yeah.
You just had to watch out for me the whole time.
take the cash and then just run. The cast actually was fake the whole time.
They were all paid actors.
Yeah.
That would be the craziest plot twist. Imagine like building up all these just like arcs, all these like sincere arcs, and the whole thing was a dream. Like yeah, that's sort of like it's just Emily.
It's just like Super Mario Brothers 3. It's all a stage show.
Everything's all the world's a stage, right?
Oh my god. You know, it's been such a good time. I've really appreciated something no one knows because it's on the crew side. Jace will hit you with a fake resignation note sometimes just to keep things spicy.
What? No, I don't.
Just like, you know, we've really appreciated your time. It's been so wonderful. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances and just in this tumultuous time, unfortunately, we're going to have to part ways.
It's a tumultuous time. It really is.
In these trying times.
I need you to understand how much this hurts me more than it hurts you to have to let you go.
Exactly. And in letting you go, we're going to have the rest of the cast sing Imagine by John Lennon.
But like the Gal Gadot version where it's just like a
Yes,
little
exactly.
uncomfortable. Okay, perfect.
Exactly.
It's funny. I like deny
Um,
this as if I didn't just like make a joke about that, responding to one of Harry's tweets today, being like, "So it's been great."
Perfect.
uh, we all have to have our
Um,
fallback jokes. That one's mine.
exactly. No, I think that realistically, um, I could see I could see Logan winning it.
Mhm.
I also could see Linda winning it.
Linda, the dark horse.
I could see her coming out and
Oh
taking care
yeah.
of it.
Oh,
Don't you know?
well, she does have one advantage is that she's Minnesotan and one of the writers is Minnesotan, so there might be a little bit of a bias there.
Oh,
Uh, yeah.
wowzers.
I mean, it's one of those like Odd Nations. They love to go for unexpected winners, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not totally out of the realm of possibility because she is the one like you wouldn't expect her to win,
Exactly.
but also like a old lady one, so anyone can win. Awesome. So, just in general, what has been your favorite part about this project specifically?
Um, I honestly think it's just the fun energy. I've been a part of a lot of projects where things were very successful, where things were fun intermittently, where all sorts of different things, but I've never quite been in such an environment where it is nonstop. There's always something entertaining going. That
Yeah.
has been just such a great environment. And I think it's made any of the recording sessions that much easier because I look forward to them. So I'd say that, and just it's going to sound like such a cop out, but just getting the opportunity to voice Alessio because it feels that special. I don't think that I've voiced a character this unique or feels so personal. And I think that's really
Yeah.
special.
Well, and I definitely think it was meant to be because you are literally perfect for the role. I don't think like at this point like I could never hear anyone else doing this character. Oh, okay. So Alessio, a related question now because I want to ask everyone a question kind
Hmm.
of related to their character. What is your personal favorite work of art?
Oh man.
And also a favorite
I
artist.
well, the community has already decided that Alessio's favorite artist is Lady Gaga. Um, I personally think that Alessio is possibly a little bit more of a Chapel Roan stan, but
Oh.
Pink Pony Club, Alessio, Alessio kind of a pink sweater. I don't know.
True. Also, does it work to Alessio? You can take this Italian to go. I don't know. We'll workshop it, but it does. His name works for it,
If
though.
the
It does.
fans can make it, I'm just saying. Um, I think it's odd because a lot of the art that I like is very, as far as like actual physical art, is very like mixed media, and there's a lot of artists that unfortunately go nameless or they like to very anonymously. I've
Yeah.
always been fascinated by like street art
Sure.
and stuff like that. I am blanking on the name of it, so I'm going to very poorly describe this. But I have this piece in my room that was designed by someone here in Texas, in Austin, and it is this beautiful Gothic piece of a like almost skeletal angel sitting on like throne, but the throne's bottom of the chair just keeps going, so it's almost like a tower. This is just like a very nerdy reference, but if anyone knows Organization 13's chairs in Kingdom Hearts, it's like that. um but it's painted, and I don't have a lot of like very specific like paintings and stuff, and that was one that I remember seeing at this like art exhibit place slash pop culture place here in Austin, and I fell in love with it immediately, and it's the only piece that's like a bougier piece. I was like, I have to go home with that immediately. And they were
It
like,
spoke to you.
great, you can buy it, but it has to finish its time in the gallery and then you can take it home. I was like,
Hmm.
I didn't know that's how that worked. So
You're like, this is my first time buying a piece of art. I mean, I don't know how it works either. I'm like, I
well,
always wondered about
sometimes you can pay for it and they'll tell you when you can take it home.
that.
You cannot take it hot to go.
I mean, as it should be. It's the sanctity of art, Makenzie.
Exactly. Exactly.
With your permission, I might ask you to take a picture of it, and then I'll like post it on this video
Yes,
just so
I
people
will.
can see the visual, because that sounds really cool. Sounds
It is very beautiful and gothic and emo like me.
so emo.
So emo.
Yeah, I heard how sappy you got earlier. Oof. No, just kidding.
Oh god,
Oh, this guy, I gotta get through this. No, totally kidding. Let's see. Just a few more questions for you.
hmm
And now we're kind of out of the character stuff and just more back about you. And since you are an actor, just wanted to ask if you had any advice for people who want to break into voice acting or acting in general, specifically maybe like our younger audience who are like thinking about pursuing that once they're adults and stuff.
Sure. Everyone will tell you that you should take very specific classes. You should, I mean, as Jason and I both echoed earlier, do your homework. That is extremely important. Um, you should do the character research. You should look into that. But I am a big believer that you should always have a very strong support system.
Mm-hmm.
um, because I will tell you something that even I still actively struggle with sometimes, week on, week off. You are in the business where you will hear 99.9999% of the
Yeah.
time, no.
Mm-hmm.
And that point 0.0000001% of yes is the greatest feeling. And it's great, especially when you've put in the work for it and you've done it. Um, and it's hard, that constant series of no. It starts to feel like it's a reflection of your self-worth and your value, and it's not. I'm very lucky. I Both my parents are individuals who told me, like, after I did a after I did a play, the first thing that they ever went to, which they told like other members of my family not to go to because they didn't know if I was going to be any good. They were like trying to be kind,
No.
and my dad cried. And he's like, I had no idea. Um, and they've always been like, we can tell that this is something you're passionate about. So, if you're in this, we're, backing you with heart and love. And, my fiance, Emily, she isn't necessarily from the acting world, but there's times where I've felt very, very, um, just sad and on myself with self-esteem of doing this. And she's been there to be like, you know what, it is okay, like it's gonna be okay, like it's not,
Yeah.
or again, a reminder that it's not a reflection of who you are. And I think it's important to take those moments to say that there is a difference between your measuring of success and your measuring of who you are inside. And if you have a good handle on that, even if you don't, as long as you can come back to that realization, I think that you can break into any kind of acting if you work at it, and if you can get into that realm of play and believing in like a second reality where it's outside of yourself, and you um are taking your body and stepping into this separate period of existence with this character you're creating, you're playing, and knowing that it's okay if you screw up, if it's okay if you get a no, then you can do this.
For the 99% of things you don't get, also 99% of the time, the reason you don't get them is something that's out of your control. And it's definitely
hmm
not a reflection of you as a person or even your talent. Like you said, it's you just want you just weren't what they were looking for, and
Yeah.
that's I think very important to like state too. And we do it because we love it, right? We don't do it for the glory, because it's, again, it is hard, like, dealing with that rejection, but it does make the highs so much higher. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Great advice. And then, do you have any other projects right now that you've worked on recently or are working on that people could check out? Any like shameless self plugs you can do?
Oh gosh. I
If
I
not,
would
it's
love
okay.
to say I would love to say that I can think of anything, but I honestly can't, except for that I just want to live in the Disventure Camp world with this.
Yes.
Um yeah, nothing is super super coming to mind um that I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty more to come. I mean, we're going to see Alessio more, and there's
Yes.
greetings, and there's all this other content. There's also the podcast that you recorded in character. It's a Alessio podcast that, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you go check that out. Emily is interviewing the contestants after their eliminations. It's a little like bonus content. First time we're doing it this season. So, and Alessio is our first person again doing that. So definitely check that out. I think the level of content we're gonna see from all the characters, even the early outs, is really really cool. So there's a lot to look forward to. It is a big journey, and we're just happy to have you on board. It really is like a long-term character investment in the best way.
I'm happy to be here. It really has been like something that is I think gonna stick with me for a very, very long time, and I'm very okay with that.
Yay. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, in that case, I just have one last question for you before we wrap up here.
Okay.
Where can people find you? Do you have any like socials, or where are you most active?
I would say that you can follow me on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. At Makenzie underscore MCC. That's MAKENZIE underscore MCC. And sometimes I'm on Instagram. I'm not like super super active, and that one is just Makenzie McClure underscore. It's going to be MAKENZIE MCCLURE underscore.
Perfect. I'll put those on the screen there. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you again, Mackenzie, so much for taking your evening basically to do this
Yeah.
interview. It's been such a pleasure, and I just really appreciated all your thoughts and ideas. I thought they were super, super eloquent and just such great perspective, such great advice. And I know that the audience is going to love getting to know you a little bit. And again, thank you so much for the work that you've provided for Alessio. You've just really breathed so much life into him, and he's just quickly become such a favorite. This quirky, eccentric, dynamic man that he is. He has all the things, and he has so many levels thanks to you, and we couldn't have done this project without you.
Well, thank you very much. And I can't thank all of you enough for giving me the opportunity to create him and to live with him and within him. And I'm just very happy to be a part of all of this. And I'm happy for all the fans who love and support him. And, those psychics who predicted that he would be first boot. It's fine. It's cool. If you weren't part of Alessio Nation will come to you. It's okay.
Yes. Hashtag Alessio Nation. And to those who didn't weren't believers in Alessio Nation, just remember what Alessio did to the snail and think about that a little bit.
Exactly. Oh, my light just died.
Now you're like, oh, that's perfect timing. The snail, the snail that follows you slowly for your entire life, and if it touches you,
Exactly.
you die. The snail got you. So rest in peace, Mackenzie. You are an amazing actor and memer. We won't forget you.
Well, thank you for having me. I really did have a wonderful time. And watch out for all the other snails out there.
Oh yeah, can't can't be too careful, right? And bravissimo to your performance. It was incredible.
Grazie.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your night, and thank you all for tuning into our first interview. And we will be doing these more with all the cast as their characters get the boot, so you can look forward to more of these in the future. Thanks for tuning in.